Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel. Oh, perhaps today I should say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another day of Dephemerember 2023. But the rest of the sentence would be the same. It's Luisa Heinzel. Welcome. I thought this introduction for the video would fit better to today's prompt because today's prompt is vintage meets modern. And when I thought about that, I thought, okay, vintage, that is very easy. I mean, if you make junk journals, then you often use vintage things, original old letters or documents or tickets or something like that, old paper, which is really vintage. But when I think about modern, I have a problem because I think if you would imagine the most unmodern person in this world, then that would be me. With my furniture, with my clothes and everything, it's the same. I'm totally not modern. And I'm not this person who buys everything which is new. With technical things, I would say I'm relatively modern, but the rest of my life is more vintage than modern. So I thought, what could I use that combines vintage and modern, and where do I have modern things? Because vintage is not the problem. Effie, you are modern, definitely. I mean, especially your outfit is really modern. But then I found this piece here. If you follow me for a longer time, you might already know this piece. I have made this, I guess, during Dephemerember 2021, which was the first year where Barbara at 49 Dragonflies and myself hosted this series. And this already, in my eyes, combines modern and vintage things. I have taken a piece of paper and then I have torn some pieces from a magazine page, mainly black and white. Here are some colors in here, as you can see, but the idea was black and white paper, if I remember that right. Then I have run that through an embossing folder, and after that I've added some of this gilding wax. And for me, if I think about apartments and furniture and that stuff, black and white and gold, and especially with those like mandala-ish things, that is something really modern for me. At the same time, we have some vintage elements on this thing. This was originally planned to be a belly band. This lace here, for example, is an original vintage lace, really, really old. And this piece comes from a pillowcase from my grandma, so I would consider this vintage as well. This piece here on the bottom, which is a pocket, so that means you can put something in here if it is small enough, but you can, you can imagine what I mean. On this pocket, I have used, I would say, a relatively modern paper. This I bought in a shop called Action, and I think also this pattern here is really modern. So it combines already what we have to do for today's prompt. And then I thought, if I look around in my room, what is the most vintage thing I have? And then the answer was really easy. I have taken this because this is, I would say, the most vintage thing I own. This is a ticket holder, as you can see. I bought this on Etsy with all of these tickets in here. So you can imagine after I had bought this, I was broke. But this is just so cool. And I'm so happy that I have one of these because in that shop where I bought it, they are sold out so quickly. So I'm really, really happy, especially because of all of these tickets. And this thing is like wandering around in my room because I put it someday here, then there, and then there, so that I'm able to look at it at every single day, and that it's not always in the same place because, you know, that makes it more interesting. So I want to use some of these original vintage tickets today as well, and I want to turn this belly band in a little ticket pocket for my journal. And for that, I would like to use this last page here in my journal. So I'm going to take this out for a moment. Perhaps you remember this prompt here. And from this, I have this page still free for something else. This page was originally a full page, which I have cut in half so that I'm left with this part here. And this page comes from my A Day in Effie's Life Volume 1 Junk Journal Kit, which you can find in my shop. The link is down below in the description box. Effie thought he wants to make a little holiday, so he went into this mushroom forest to spend a day there. This originally was meant to put onto a page as a belly band like this, so that you then can glue it on the top and the bottom and then put something behind. You could also, of course, place it in the middle of a page so that you then can store some letters, journaling cards or whatever in it. But you can also use things that you already have and turn them into something else. So I want to take this and place this here and turn that into my ticket pocket. But this bothers me. I don't know why I left this so long. I don't like that it's like hanging around here. So I want to turn this into a ruffle first. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and then I'm going to, you know, ruffle it up. Is that an English word? I will sew over this and then I have a ruffle, looks nice, and this can't bother me anymore. So here we go. Then it looks like this. And I really ask myself why I haven't done this 2 years ago, because this looks way more interesting than having this long thing hanging there. When I made this piece, I made a little mistake, or little mistake happened when I made that, let's say it like that, while I was embossing with my embossing folder. As you can see, this paper here on the back is just the backing for this collage with the magazine paper. So I have just glued the magazine scraps onto a piece of paper. And when I feel this now, you probably can't see that so well, but I can feel that it nearly breaks. When I have this, there are some areas where the paper has these little damages. And of course, I want to have this sturdy, but there's a really easy solution. I found this scrap here from Barbara. This originally was the back of a paper bag. This was one of the paper bags where she had her snacks in for last year's Dephemerember. And I have cut that apart. The other half of this I've already used for the German video. That's why this is only this small. But this is perfect for backing this pocket thing. Because, I mean, I also want to do that to give you a little advice. If something like this happens to you while you emboss your papers, sometimes when you have the wrong paper, for example, too thin or too thick, then it can happen that the embossing folder destroys your paper. Especially if you haven't made it wet before embossing. So it's always a good idea, if you have an embossing folder, that you mist your paper with water before embossing it. I even don't know if I have done that there. I really can't remember. But it can happen that even with water, it tears. But the solution is very easy. But before we do the solution, let's do something else to make this more interesting. Because I want to see parts of Barbara's paper through this embossed pattern here, so that we can see some of this gorgeous stuff that she has thrown to the paper. So let's take a hole punch and punch some holes in here. And at the same time, with doing this, we also get 4 really cool circles, which we can later use for additional decoration for our page. Look, really cool, isn't it? So now let's do the trick. I'm going to take some glue, and you can do that with any like embossing file or something. If you had a folder, embossing folder, and you have embossed your paper and it breaks, then just take a really thin layer of paper. No, just take a layer of really thin paper. That's what I want to say. So this paper bag is relatively thin. Collage paper would probably be even better. If you buy, for example, shoes, then sometimes in the box there's this really thin tissue paper, or a layer of a napkin or something would work as well for this trick. So I'm carefully putting some glue on here. I'm massaging that into this embossed paper carefully. And then I'm going to take this, and now I have to think, how did I have this? This shall be the right edge. This shall go like so. I have problems to imagine this because ich is German. I already have recorded my German video. Why am I always telling you that? And in the German video, I also had such a thing because I made 2 in Dephemerember 2021. And there, this ruffle was on the other side, so it was mirrored. And now I have some problems to imagine how I want this to be and how it originally was in my head, because everything for me in my head is now in the opposite direction. But we can manage this. And the trick is to massage this in without making the embossed pattern flat. You don't want to have a flat paper later, so do this carefully. But then you have the sturdiness you want for this piece, and with massaging this in, this gets really, really sturdy. So then this can go on here like so. But when I think about vintage and my mediums that I have, one thing comes to my mind, and that is vintage photo distress ink. So I'm going to take some of that, and this ink pad is vintage itself, I would say. That was the first ink pad I ever bought, and it's really, really old, but it still works. I have never refilled it, by the way, and it still gives me some ink. It's relatively empty already, I have to admit, but for this it's okay. Just like that. So then I want to go to my sewing machine again, because I want to have a visible frame around here, and I want to complete this sewing here. So this black thread already goes down here, and I will now sew around here to make this frame complete. So then it's like this, and now I want to start with my original vintage tickets here, and I want to try to find some that match the colors of the page, and I want to put them in here. So I think 3 would be a good number. So let's see, this color here could go well with what Barbara has on the paper bag. So let's place this here. I also want to have something turquoise, because Effie's fur is relatively turquoise-ish. And since I know that vintage tickets are really, really popular and not everyone can find some, I would like to give you another Dephemerember freebie today. I have made a sheet with some of these vintage tickets from my collection here. You can find that on my website, and then you can print that out. I mean, I know that it's not the same like having an original vintage ticket, but I thought perhaps it's nice to have some of these, even if they are only printed then. So you can find the link to my website down below in the description box. Yeah, this is good, I think. So now I want to take this, and as you can see, if I would glue this down here and here and here, then the tickets could like fly around in here, and of course I don't want that. So I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them into the position I want to have them later in this little pocket with approximately the same distance here and here, so that I now can make a little mark here on the left of the ticket, then in between of the orange one and this turquoise one, and also in between of this turquoise and this beige one, and also here, so that I now can sew along here, just to make the illusion for the eye that there's a pocket. I will just sew through this material and not through the page. I can't sew through the page, otherwise we would see it on the other side. But I want to have the eye, this like hint that there's a pocket. I have left for my marks a tiny bit of space here, so that it's not directly on the ticket. Yeah, can you see here's about 3 millimeters distance, and also here, so that the ticket can later on go really easily in and out here. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sew over this here in straight lines. And this not only gives the illusion that this is sewn and like, you know, sewn all around these single pockets, but at the same time, when I turn this around now, I can exactly see where my pockets have to be, and I have an easier job to glue this down. The plan is to have glue here and here and here to make sure that it is really sturdy, but at the same time, I also want to have the right size for the pockets for the tickets, because as you can see, when I place them here, they are not as long as the pocket is wide. So if I would only put glue here, then the ticket could slide completely in and we won't see it anymore. So I want to make a little stopper here in the middle. I don't know if that is an English word, but let's see. I want to put them in here. Going to use this grid on my mat here for orientation. I'm placing them now in between of my sewn lines. Then I'm going to take some double-sided tape. Here we go. And first, I'm going to put some here to the top, just like this. Ooh, stay there. Then we can go with the tape from here to the very bottom, so that it's glued down on the other end really well and that it doesn't come up from the page. Of course, you could do this with liquid glue as well, but I think this is just easy and you don't have to struggle with the time, because when you use liquid glue, then you probably have to be a bit faster, because you don't want your glue to dry before you have everything done here. So I think we could go even like this. So I'm checking how far my tickets shall peek out here, and that is my orientation for the next tape that will go here, because that is the one which stops the tickets from sliding into the pocket completely. So then they have this little, you know, edge here where they can't go further once this is glued down. And then we have to put some strips of tape in between here. And here I have to cheat a little bit, I guess, because this is a little bit, oh no. I think I left not enough space here. But if I now take the ticket and put that here to the tape where the pocket is going to end, then I can take another piece here, just eyeball that, so that the ticket can go in between of this tape and that tape. And here, yeah, I have to glue it here a little bit next to my sewing, but I think that doesn't matter. The important thing is that those pockets don't get too small now, otherwise you will run around in your craft room later screaming and asking yourself why you have done this. And, yeah. That would be not so good. So now we have this, so we can take this off, and then we can remove these little things here and glue this down. And if you think I don't have such a thing, you can of course use something totally different for this. That doesn't have to be a belly band from 2021. You can use any piece that you have, or of course you are welcome to watch the other video from 2021 and follow my little probably weird tutorial on how to make this there. That would also be a possibility. But I also wanted to show that sometimes you have those ephemera pieces which you've made a very long time ago and you haven't used them yet. And I think all of us have those pieces. I mean, if you started junk journaling yesterday, then you probably don't have something like this. But if that's the case, I'm sure you can find other alternatives. For example, you could also just take a piece of scrapbooking paper or something like that to make something like this. That doesn't have to be a fancy belly band. I mean, I would consider this fancy now. I think in the beginning it wasn't even fancy. But let's see. So then this can go in here. And I just realized in our prompt list pocket, which we've made, we have these little guys here, this ticket strip, which was also on the freebie of the prompt list pocket freebie. You can find that on my website as well. The link is down below in the description box, as always. And I want to use 3 of these because, yeah, holy moly, I have often tried to explain the German word monk. It took me a while to realize that that word isn't existing in English, and obviously I couldn't explain it so well because some of you still are confused about what a monk is. A monk is something that is like an invisible creature, and a monk is within you, in your brain. Especially in your artsy brain, the monk can see with your eyes, but he sees something that you perhaps in the first moment don't see, and then he tells you what to do, and that is something that drives you crazy because you know you have to do it, but it makes no sense. Yeah? For other people, it makes no sense. And for me, something that my monk tells me is that I can't have only one piece of ephemera in a pocket. So this totally bothers me when only one ticket is in these pockets here. I think you will really rarely see journals that I have made where only one thing is in a pocket. I always have to put more than one thing into such a pocket. So that's what I want to do here with these little tickets from the freebie. I want to put them in here. Just like this. Now this is harmonious for me. And my monk says it's way better if you have something over this original vintage piece, because when you take it out, then you see, oh, here's something original. This is interesting. This is vintage. You want to discover what is in the pocket. And when this is over here, you do that automatically. Your brain automatically thinks, I want to discover what else is in here. Do you know what I mean? So then let's take these circles and do something with those, because since I have this sewn frame here, and that came from the prompt on the other side, I thought, why don't we take these and make an additional feature here for this frame. And since we have all of these vintage tickets here, and the prompt is modern meets vintage, or vintage meets modern, doesn't matter, and we still have this pocket here, I thought, why don't we take some modern tickets to combine them with these vintage tickets. I would say these here, these tiny ones from the freebie, already are modern because I've just made them, yeah, a short time ago. They are not vintage. But I also have these here. And these are special tickets. I'm a little bit proud of them. And you have been so thrilled about them when I released them in my shop. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your feedback for these tickets. That was just, and it still is, just so amazing. When I get emails about this printable, I'm just like over the moon happy, because this took me really a while to get this together. It doesn't look like much effort, but if you consider that English is not my mother language, it was so hard to get this like without mistakes to the printable. Really crazy. So what is the special thing about these tickets? These are junk journal tickets. All of these tickets have a little quote on them which is junk journal related. For example, this: I'm not messy, I make junk journals, visit my craft room tonight. And I have thought about different things that could be nice on such tickets for junk journals. This, for example, says it's always time for journaling. Don't be confused about how I have cut these. I've just cut them like, you know, rectangles to be faster. And these details with this, for example, perforation, I will do then when I know how I want to use these. So this, for example, says writing each day. Deeply enjoy your journey to your inner soul. So not all of them are funny. Some also have these like more, I don't know the word, but you know what I mean. For example, this: in junk journaling, there are no mistakes, just unique creations. Just do it. And here on the top it says believe in yourself. Oh, I really like this. But this is probably a little bit too big. Meep. Originally I wanted to use this, but this is as big as the other one. But I really like this. I really like this. And this blue makes sense with this as well. Yeah, perhaps let's try to take this. Let's see if it could fit somehow. And if you're interested in these tickets, I have another little goodie for you. A Dephemerember goodie. You can get 30% off on this set of junk journal tickets by using this code here. And the link to this printable is down below in the description box, of course. And if you understand German, or if you want to learn some German, then this is also available in German. So there are two different versions. And if you don't want to have the German version, make sure that you click the right one. Yeah, there's one that is the English version, and there's one link that's the German version. You can also check that, of course, in the preview of the item in my shop. Make sure, if you want to have the English one, that you click the right item. Yeah. Everything else would be not so good. But of course, if you want to learn some German, then you could also get these with the German quotes. So for this perforation, I like to use an awl and just go into this. But these are, no, I think it's okay. Some of these printed holes here are that big that you could use a small hole punch as well. But sometimes with your awl it gets even more interesting and better. You could also take this to your sewing machine and sew through this without a needle. That would also be really nice. So that means you can cut these out like rectangles, and then you can customize them with these little perforations and all of the other details. And you can do, of course, what you want and how you want it. Just like this, perhaps. And you could also, I'm just thinking of doing that here, do something like this, so that it looks even more used. Speaking about used, I want to ink this up a little bit. I don't want to put this into this pocket. I mean, I could do that, of course, but oh, this is so narrow. What happened here? I could do that, but if I would do it, I couldn't read this anymore. To be honest, I don't like that. So let's try something. Let's try to use this as a little tuck spot and just glue that to this pocket. That way, I mean, I'm honest with you. In every single video, with every sentence I say, this pattern, I don't like that anymore. When I used it here, I liked it, but now I don't like it anymore. I want to get rid of that paper there and this pattern. So I'm going to take a piece of double-sided tape so that I can put this on here. This frame is nice and it gives this ticket a nice place to be, but this is great. The pattern has gone. I can use this as a tuck spot. I can read everything. Wonderful. But since we have the pocket there in the back, why don't we take another ticket to really put that into the pocket here, so that it then also gives us another layer of interest here. Not sure about this color. Oh, but it matches Effie's color really well. But this... And I've already cut something off here for another thing. Let's see. This is probably, was this the one which was too wide? Oh no, now it fits. But it's not so interesting. Let's see, let's see. This. This covers up way too much of the belly band. I don't like that. And I'm just thinking, perhaps I should also think about this color here. This I also, here I also cut off something for something else, but I think that doesn't matter. This makes sense, even if something is missing here. This says, junk journaling makes everything better, even Mondays. Sometimes I have to laugh about my own jokes, but I think that's a good thing. What do we think about this? That makes it really harmonious, I would say. So I'm just going to ink this up and perforate this there. So now let's put this behind here. And I also want to have a little cluster of mini tickets here on the bottom, so that it looks like Effie wants to grab those tickets. And for that, I want to take some of these and just manipulate them a little bit. I want the single pieces here that they make sense, so I don't want to cut through the writing, but I need something which is relatively small. I mean, you could, of course, also take some tiny ticket die cuts. I know that those are existing. I don't have those. If you want to make this bigger, you could use the ticket booth stamp set, and there's a matching die cut set as well available by Zizix and Tim Holtz. I have that, but it's too big for me for this. But perhaps your proportions are different, and perhaps you have the stamps and die cuts, then you could, of course, use those. Oh no. Okay, so we have to put that to the bottom. I've just punched out a little bit too much. But, of course, you can also take this printable and cut yourself smaller tickets. Please ignore this. This looks absolutely terrible. But what I'm trying to say, you don't necessarily need stamps. You could also cut pieces from the junk journal ticket printable. So I'm going to ink these up. And then I want to find a nice arrangement of these, like this. And now this is probably a little bit too long here. I have to lift this circle up a little bit. Oh, that is good, the glue is not dry yet. So that I now can glue these behind here. Because an Effie without tickets, I mean, what the heck, it's Dephemerember. That can't be. So now perhaps he wants to go to the cinema. So then when we have this, I'm really happy, I think. But this wouldn't be my page without some white splatters. So let's put these out of the way because I don't want to have splatters on my tickets, but on the page. Just put some here and there, and perhaps also here where this relatively solid area is. And I'm really curious what Barbara has done for today's prompt. That's always so exciting because, I mean, for you see both of the videos at the same time, or probably not at the same time after each other, but at the same day. That's what I'm trying to say. But for me, it's like I have to wait because my day now is not the same date like yours, of course. And I know that I have to wait until I can see her video. That makes my life really hard. But when I have finished this and when I now stop the camera, I will immediately take a photo of this because that means that she is going to send a photo of her project to me as well. We don't exchange the videos, but we show each other a photo of what we have done. And of course, I'm really excited. I want to see what she has done. And that means I have to say goodbye now. So that I then can make a photo to see what Barbara has done. If you want to see that as well, then please check out her channel and today's video. The channel link is down below in the description box. And I hope that you enjoy these ideas and that you can find some inspiration to make something for your own journal. And I'm really hoping that you will have a really great weekend because we have now 3 days where we don't have videos. This is done. And here you can see the next 3 days, that's the weekend. And if you want, we are going to see on Monday with the prompt friendship bracelet. The biggest challenge is how to include a friendship bracelet into a journal. Don't know. I need a coffee. Another coffee. This is already cold, but I have to think about a solution. And then we are going to see on Monday with another Dephemerember idea. Have a very creative day and see you. Bye bye.